I've seen a lot of people who don't even know what's going on with ZeRo.
I had an initial paragraph about the stuff against ZeRo, then I rewrote it entirely when new information came out, and now I've deleted that entirely when even more information came out, and I am replacing it with, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
In absolutely devastating and shocking news, ZeRo has come out with a brand new statement confirming everything is true.
Many members of the Smash community have been accused of harassment and assault, most notably Gonzalo ZeRo Barrios, known as one of the most successful Smash players of all time.
Sadly, ZeRo attempted suicide today.
Jisoo has continued to post her own additional allegations against ZeRo as well, and seemingly will not let this go to rest until I'm not sure what is done here.
I do think that there is some kind of need to do very thorough research before you name specific people and specific events, especially if you weren't there or both sides of the story have not been brought up yet.
Worst case scenario is what happened to ZeRo. This is literally the worst case scenario, is when somebody tries to kill themselves.
Today officially marks the beginning and end of an era in Smash history. In the past year, we've seen a growth in distrust of leadership, entire cases turned upside down, and a once silent majority no longer afraid to question the status quo. I mean, why shouldn't they? The loudest ones are the reason both you and I are here in the first place. But as I said before, that ends today. Because today I'll show you how two of the biggest cases in Smash history have never been solved. Until now. Gonzalo Raul ZeRo Barrios Castro, most famous for his 56 consecutive tournament win streak back in his prime, received attention from mainstream news publications for something a lot less awe-inspiring. It appears that much like D1, he incurred the wrath of his detractors by making an initial statement on those that were accused prior to himself. Jisoo's tweet would reignite old stories, and even spark new ones as they tried to add their voices to the conversation. As we all know, this resulted in her creating a 64-page 58-page document that was used as the primary reference in both conversation and media coverage. However, even after all of our digging, we've only been over half of what's been said about ZeRo. If you're new here, don't worry, because I'm about to recap everything we already know about the ZeRo case. From 2009 to 2010, Craigslist was caught in a legal battle over their adult services category, which functioned as a message board for sex workers and online dating. Because of this and raising concerns over sex trafficking, Craigslist began pre-screening ads posted in the adults category to prohibit the publication of graphic images. With that being said, it seems unreasonable to assume that Jisoo's claim of having been shown multiple ads in 2014, which shouldn't have existed in the first place, would be true beyond a reasonable doubt. Coupled with the fact that she acquired zero testimony in a house filled with 20+ people who would have likely seen this happening, considering it was shown on a big screen television in a shared room of 5. Coincidentally, everyone that I reached out to for comment, like Orion and some of her past roommates, deny any knowledge of this taking place during their stay. Also, for accuracy's sake, she wasn't 15. She was 16 ever since she arrived at Sky's house, which would have made ZeRo 19 at the time. A day after Jisoo posted her allegation, Leffen, purely out of the goodness of his own heart, posted an entirely fabricated story to make Jisoo's look more credible. But it's okay because he did it as his friend. In this story, he accuses ZeRo of looking at hentai with Japanese players he had just met at Apex when he was a minor, when in actuality, they were looking at fully clothed waifus. I'm not going to reveal the identity of the Japanese player who corroborated ZeRo's story simply because he wishes to remain anonymous. But if Leffen would like to have even one person involved back him up, he's more than welcome to do so. But he's not going to because no one agrees with him. Well, maybe except for Lima, who wasn't even there.
The fact that Leffen confirmed you look at hentai with people you barely know completely contradicts what you said about this being out of character for you to do.
Imagine typing this out with 100% sincerity.
Aha! Checkmated, ZeRo! You do look at anime pussy in public! See? Look, everyone! Leffen proved it!
ZeRo manipulated and blinded his audience very well into attacking this victim, who finally mustered the courage to share her story against the biggest name in Smash.
ZeRo stabbed and wounded this infant, who finally found the courage to speak out after being shown a full-length director's cut of Boku no Pico. Stunning, and quite frankly, brave. Whew. God forbid a woman be uncomfortable. I'm sure we can all agree that harassing someone is bad, but making a 500+ word essay on an unsubstantiated claim that you have nothing to do with, I would argue, would make anyone uncomfortable, because you clearly have way too much time on your hands. I guess you could use the attention since you're not getting it from ESPN. Leffen still felt like he hadn't proved his friendship to ZeRo, so he shared yet another false story that accidentally damaged his reputation. Damn, Leffen really can't catch a break, huh? The goal of the Twitlonger was to show that ZeRo frequently exchanged hentai with his audience, which, much like the Apex story, would make Jisoo seem far more believable. The context to these screenshots is that ZeRo would have constant disputes in his Discord over who could join his Mafia lobbies, so he half-jokingly decided whoever sent him the best hentai would get a spot. One of the only times that ZeRo has sent hentai to his audience directly is when he made an animation for his stream that triggered after a large donation, which had a hidden NSFW ending. But viewers demanded to see the full version, so ZeRo decided if they tier 3 subbed and confirmed they were 18 or older, he would send them the full animation. However, one of ZeRo's mods who did receive it after asking him went on Twitter and framed it as if ZeRo was wholly irresponsible with ages, even though his trusted moderator, the one person whose age he didn't check, was a legal adult anyways. They have since publicly apologized for their tweets and confirmed that ZeRo did in fact check for ages. Don't ask why Leffen was trying this hard to prove Jisoo right. You're going to break the simulation. Fuck you, Technicals. You are roach of cock. You are scum of Smash. And you make alert dramas like Camstar. Ooh, go cry about it on Reddit again, pussy. In a 1 in a trillion odds, Jisoo managed to not only forget the very first line of her document, but also was unable to fit a 5-minute Google search of their ages into her already busy schedule. This resulted in hordes of followers demanding Vanessa's birth certificate after she accused her of being 15 while dating ZeRo. And when she spoke on this experience, she even goes as far as to say that it gave her post-traumatic stress disorder. But wait, there's more! In the same breath, Jisoo also insinuated that ZeRo beats women, citing rumors as her source. The magnitude of this fuck-up is actually so impressive, I think we should just let it slide. I mean, she clearly can't help it at this point, and as an educator, I take punching down on learning disabilities very seriously. Recap over! Congratulations! You're officially caught up! Now it's time to introduce the final 3 stories we've yet to address, and hopefully by the end we can reach a verdict. Spoiler alert, Jisoo's involved in all of them. How fun.
What I didn't expect was another victim to speak up about ZeRo having asked her to do the same things while she was underage, and talk about possibly flying over and meeting her at a hotel in person.
This other victim that Jisoo is referring to is Laura. In the screenshots that follow her explanation, Laura details how ZeRo was likely gaslighting her into believing that she had lied about her age, saying, quote,
I would have never in my life said I was 20. Like, this is 100% damage control. There's no way he didn't know I was underage.
And
I had text logs last year when I tried contacting him on Discord and was really thinking of posting it online back then, but no one would have believed me, and I just gave up on it, I guess. But I've reset my PC since then, so the Skype chat logs are gone.
Unquote. Damn, you reset your PC, so you lost the screenshots, huh? That's unfortunate. The issue isn't that she doesn't have the conversations, it's that they don't support her case in the slightest.
The Skype messages still exist, but that's not the point. And he thought I was older. He did nothing wrong. I wouldn't share those Skype messages with anyone though, at least not things that make him look bad, unless I trust that person to not share it with anyone. I'd never want to damage ZeRo's reputation. He didn't even know I was a minor. I'm not a bad person. I'm really sorry.
Well, it doesn't get any more obvious than that, does it? I'm in genuine shock I get paid to do this. This puts our current lie tally from Jisoo at a solid 3.5. Vanessa being 15, ZeRo beating women, flying out a minor, and half a point for the hentai and Craigslist story. Because while it's extremely unlikely, it can't be disproven either. But truthfully, who gives a shit? I debated adding this part because it honestly feels like a waste of time, so if you want to skip it, just know that it boils down to an anti-situation. The first woman, who is now 27 years old, is upset because she feels as if ZeRo tried to use her to add to his collection by asking her for nudes. She paints the picture that ZeRo talked of women as if they were achievements, while boasting his easily obtained Infinity Gauntlet of pictures. Keep in mind that there is no evidence to literally anything I'm saying right now, which is why I wanted to skip it in the first place, but since Jisoo thought it was important enough to document, I don't really have a choice now, do I? She feels as if ZeRo was her friend, yet blocked and cut her off when he started going steady with Vanessa. According to ZeRo, he was never really close friends with her in the first place, and he was already cutting off people from his hometown because he never planned on going back. There is testimony from others that witnessed them hanging out and her general attitude of ZeRo, even though she stated that she had a boyfriend and that was one of the things she was upset about. But then that devolves into a he said, she said, and I don't have time for that shit. The rest of her twitlonger appears to contribute a decent amount of her self-esteem issues to ZeRo, which I don't think is very fair considering their minimal amount of interactions. I'm not gonna lie, it honestly reads as projection.
The big takeaway here is that ZeRo now has a confirmed history of sexually exploiting women.
Fuck. Jisoo must have seen something I didn't, because that is a loaded statement. You confirmed it? How'd you confirm that one? Oh, you listened to a couple stories? Here, take it. Just take it. No, seriously, you deserve it. Please, just take it.
Another person also came to me recently to also validate that ZeRo regularly exhibited these behaviors. While she was not underage at the time.
Little odd that 4 of these cases involve fully grown women when we're trying to prove he's a pedophile, but okay.
When it was clear that she only wanted to maintain a friendly relationship and not sexual, ZeRo stopped talking to her. This was when I first spoke to him in Smashboard's PMs, October 2014. So yes, same exact time period as Katie.
Guys, a woman was ghosted in 2015. Call the police. Oh my god, who fucking cares? Look, I know it seems like I'm being insensitive, but both this and the woman I just spoke of isn't even a relevant issue anymore. This happened when? 6, 7 years ago? He's been with Vanessa for 5, and they're now married. You're bringing this up why? Oh, yeah, promiscuous behavior. Promiscuous. Having or involving many sexual partners. As is characteristic of most smashers, we all know that ZeRo was drowning in a substantial amount of pussy. Most times, you couldn't tell if there was a banana in his pocket, or if he was just happy to play Diddy. Someone should really tell Nelly Furtado over here the difference between flirting online and getting your own reality TV show for being Mormon.
Promiscuous girl, I own a car. Wherever you are, bitch better not be far.
This, in my opinion, is probably the only serious and legitimate problem that people have with ZeRo. Everything else is either fabricated, as we've seen, or extremely, and I mean extremely, over-exaggerated, which is honestly a testament to just how clean ZeRo's record is if they have to lie this much. Katie reached out to Jisoo after her initial tweet and began recounting her experience with ZeRo in 2014. After sending several screenshots of their Skype conversations, the two quickly exchanged numbers and began planning out the twitlonger. At the time of the messages, ZeRo was 19 and Katie was allegedly 14. I only say allegedly because there's no way I can confirm her age on account of her being anonymous. I genuinely tried to get in contact with her, but every lead either had me blocked or refused to say anything, so can't say I didn't try.
Dear ZeRo, my name is Katie. I used to be in the Smash community. I was 14 years old during our conversations on Skype from September 2014 to January 2015. We met online when you were streaming on Twitch and I messaged you over chat. You seemed to take an interest in me and gave me your Skype username. I, starstruck, made a Skype just for this and began chatting with you. I was a young girl enraptured with the idea of being friends with someone I looked up to and admired. You used me in this state to flirt, manipulate, and ask for sexual favors from me.
The worst offense, she claimed, was that he asked her to masturbate with ice and take pictures. Sadly, according to Katie, there is no evidence. This is the part where you angrily type in the comments,
"But technicals, he confessed. You don't need evidence, you victim-blaming piece of shit."
Wow, just learn a new phrase? Nice. Very good, very good. Calm the fuck down. We're gonna read it right now. Jesus. Hey, I can't sleep, and I just can't take this back and forth. I don't think it makes sense to keep this going. I just want this all to stop and for me to at least atone. I also want people to stop defending me. I don't deserve it. Katie, the screenshot you guys were wondering about the ice cube thing? It's true. The claims that Katie makes are true in general. There are no graphic pictures or anything of the sort, but it's unforgivable regardless. If you're an observant reader, you may have noticed the stark contrast of tone from his previous responses. That's because ZeRo wholeheartedly intended for this to be his suicide note. And had it not been for Vanessa, that may have well been the case. If it's not too personal, what stopped you from committing suicide after posting your final twit longer?
I was laying down. I think Vanessa was like holding me, right? I think at some point I looked at her and I was like, dead? Because at that point in time, when all that stuff was coming out, I remember I couldn't sleep for maybe like 2.5 days or something. And I remember I just looked at her and she was trying to stay up because she couldn't sleep, you know, but she was kind of like, she wanted to sleep. And this is not the type to stay up.
I'm not gonna lie, I was so scared of him going to the bathroom alone, him just being alone, because those moments for him were really difficult, and I cannot imagine how he felt as he was the one going through all of this.
I just felt so bad. I felt like I was putting her into this scenario. I looked at her and I just said, let me just go and end this. She was like, no, please, no. I remember she begged me not to do anything.
I felt like the world was crashing on us, and at that point, death felt nicer than, you know, what was going on. I had to witness the love of my life having his world crushed.
I wrote up the thing and I was just sitting there for like 20 minutes just looking at the monitor. So the plan was that I was going to upload it and then I was just going to just cut myself, like, you know, with a knife that I had around. The main method I've always used has always been cutting. So yeah, that's just what I was thinking. I didn't have access to anything else at the time. I don't know what it was, but Vanessa kind of came into the room, and I remember she came to the office and she gave me like this very long hug. She was just telling me everything will be fine. I remember feeling like this warm because I felt really cold. She went downstairs, she made me my favorite food, which was like steak with mashed potatoes. It's a classic for me. She sat there and she was just like cutting the pieces herself and just feeding me, because I don't know, it's just, I was like a potato at that point. I don't know, it made me feel like this sense of peace that I didn't have at that point. I really do think that for some reason she wasn't in my life, or maybe she went to the store or something, I definitely would have died. I mean, I can't really explain it to you, but I don't really want to go through that ever again.
What changed between then and March of this year that prompted the sudden relapse? Because we saw a bunch of articles come out, and obviously Vanessa posted on Twitter that you were in the hospital after another suicide attempt.
There was like a month in January where I was like, I think I can fix this. I think this is workable. I have hope. We can do this, you know. And then in February, I feel like realism set, and then I was just like, you know, it's over. You know, there's nothing you can do. What I basically convinced myself was that I started slowly shifting my thoughts to, well, if I can't fix it in this life, maybe I can be Gonzalo too. I can die and then be reborn, and then I can try again. You know, honestly, looking back, I feel like I legitimately went insane. Now that I'm explaining it to you, it's embarrassing. It just sounds so stupid. I mean, I've always been kind of weak mentally, I think. Just the way I look at myself is very, very bad. Compounded with what happened, compounded with having pretty much no one at that point in my life, it just felt like I went crazy, and then, you know, I turned to the worst possible option.
Nobody in this situation can know for certain besides ZeRo and Katie. So let's look at what we do know, and I'll come back to this in a second. In the messages we are provided, it's very clear that ZeRo is being flirtatious, and according to the dates, he knew her age at the time. I'm not going to read them, but these messages on screen are 100% unacceptable, and he'll be the first to tell you that. A lot of concerned individuals on social media have been saying things like, ZeRo should be in jail, or my guy, he was getting pics from underage girls, he's a pedo. Well, if that's the case, then why hasn't he been Drake Belled yet? What the fuck? ZeRo will never see a second of jail time or even court over this. There's a few reasons why. First off, Katie is anonymous, and for legal action, you have to obviously file charges. Since there's no actual documentation or sexually explicit images exchanged, this isn't a place where the federal government would get involved either. Even ZeRo's confession wouldn't hold up in court because it was made under extreme stress and outside pressure. If that's what you were expecting, I'm sorry to break it to you, but realistically, it's not gonna happen. Now, the million-dollar question is ZeRo a pedophile? Now, I know that this is a very emotionally charged subject, and some of you have probably already made up your minds. But when it comes to a label that would suggest past, present, future, and potential harm of children, I think it's important to make sure that the shoe fits nice and snug. For instance, let's take someone who more than likely could be categorized as a pedophile, EDP445. EDP had messaged multiple underage girls, and despite almost getting caught one time, still ends up in a sting operation with a 13-year-old.
You've been exposed for this before. Correct. Do you fantasize about females under the age of 16, yes or no? Sometimes. Yes. Okay.
People who are pedophiles like children. We've seen the same thing happen on To Catch a Predator. It's nothing new.
You know, you look familiar to me. Oops. That's right. Oops, he's done it again.
Repeat offenders literally cannot help themselves. It's classified in the DSM-5 as a paraphilic disorder, which means that they have persistent sexual urges or fantasies about children and act on them, or it causes them extreme distress or difficulty in their interpersonal relationships. Jisoo didn't have third-party witness or evidence, yet had she not come forward, ZeRo would still be manipulating children in our community. Let's ignore the fact that the earliest evidence for this claim by Leffen is 7 years ago, during the same time frame that ZeRo is involved with 3 grown women and 1 lying that they were. Even after gaining significantly more money and more access to minors, there's been no new cases. Before he was canceled, he even ran an entire team of children. This would be the perfect case study if I've ever seen one. So I reached out to some of Team ZeRo to see what they had to say on the matter. Yeah, I was a part of a lot of videos he made regarding the young members. As far as I remember, there were no issues or inconveniences during the time he ran the group. Overall, he was a really nice person and always treated all of us with so much respect. It was really awesome to see how someone who I looked up to supported both me and the other younger members so much. He honestly has helped me a lot in many areas. I'm sure it's the same for anyone else he has helped, and I will always be grateful for that.
So Kirash, when did you start your time on Team ZeRo?
Well, I actually started as a member when I was 15 years old. Right now I'm 17. When I was 15 years old, so March of 2020, okay? So as I'm about to turn 16, that's when ZeRo reached out to me. We did a video together, we played, and then he said that he is going to invite me to Team ZeRo, and that's when it happened, March 13th of 2020.
It's my understanding that you guys had like a group chat too. Did you ever get any weird vibes from ZeRo? Did he ever ask you guys to do something you probably weren't comfortable with?
Absolutely not, of course not. We had a Prodigy group chat and like we had ZeRo in it as well. He wasn't very active, but like when he was active, he would just ask us to film a video with him. He did an Amiibo video. He did a video where he would fight each of us. It was just mostly us Prodigies interacting with each other, but no, he's done absolutely nothing weird in the group chat. Like he's only spoken a few times, and when he would, it was just for getting us to film a video with him.
Oh, okay, so it was more like purely business.
Yeah.
Knowing that there was a private group chat and this went on for 4 months, I just wanted to reach out to some of you guys in Team ZeRo to see if there was any red flags or if you ever felt like ZeRo was using you as a way to kind of get some gratification.
No, never. I've never felt anything like that. I felt like this was just like I was just like happy and I felt proud of myself. Like I don't think that's the case.
Well, thank you for your time, Kirash. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check out his YouTube channel, he does some Smash news there, a few recaps, and he's also an incredible Luigi player. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll link that in the description. But yeah, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Let me get this straight. He had the Disneyland equivalent of a pedophile's paradise and didn't ride Space Mountain once. Damn, ZeRo's really dropping the ball here.
So what? His whole team was full of dudes. That only proves he isn't a gay Smash pedophile, Technicals. Who cares?
To which I'd respond, I guess that means you can cross off 90% of his options. You'd think he'd diversify his profile a little bit. Let's just recap. It would be impossible for ZeRo to go to jail over this. He never exchanged any images. Every other story involves an adult, and he hasn't had a slip up in 7 years. He must be the Dexter of pedophiles or the most patient barber I've ever seen, cause this isn't cutting it. Do I condone the conversations that took place? No, and I hope I've made that very clear. What I'm trying to say is that I don't believe this to be the result of a specific or malicious preference, as is the case with repeat offenders such as pedophiles and Discord mods. What I think we're looking at is a culmination of a fucked up childhood and trauma, resulting in emotional immaturity and a lack of genuine and fulfilling relationships. When ZeRo first publicly shared a story of how he grew up in Chile, we discovered how his father exposed him to sex at the age of 5. And brutally beat him and his mother. After the age of 11 to 12, he hardly received a proper education, and when he finally went to middle school, he was molested by an older boy, and began to think and act as if he were gay to cope with the trauma. Just one look at Chile's extraordinarily progressive age of consent laws should give you an idea of how that worked out for him. I'm not just saying this so you'll pity him, I'm just saying his circumstances were pretty fucked, and it's not unreasonable to assume that a traumatized, depressed shut-in would have a lack of meaningful and genuine relationship experience. But I don't know ZeRo enough to make that conclusion, so I found someone who would. So, Vex, what is your relationship to ZeRo?
Well, he was a part of VVV with Chia, and that was like his first connection. And Chia brought him over to my place to stay. It was like, hey, I got a friend that can house you. And then he left, and then he came back around the end of 2012.
So he would be going in between like Chile and then back with you?
Yes. In 2014, that's when he really like stayed with me, and that's when we did like the big stream. You know, he was living with me for a majority of that year. And then around of like the end of 2014, that's when he moved out to California.
What was he like? What was Gonzalo like in 2011 to like 2014?
He was a confused teenager. You know, he was hyperactive, young, confused teenager.
What do you mean by confused? Like, is there any examples?
He didn't even know his sexual preference at the time. When he was 17, he actually got in a relationship with somebody that was older than him. It was 2 years older. I think the person was 19. I tried my best to help him, you know, put him in the right direction as his oldest friend, but...
Was this a same-sex relationship with someone older than him?
Yes, it was.
I mean, when I was 17, I was still trying to figure out if I was gay or not. I didn't feel normal around girls. I just didn't feel like I was appropriate for girls. And I tried being gay for like a year. Felt like I was forcing myself to do something that I didn't want to do because it felt like the other option was worse. So I was a mess, you know, and then after that, I was just kind of like, I don't want to do anything with anybody at all.
Did you ever notice anything off about him? Like, was there anything weird when he was staying with you?
I want to start off by saying he was annoying and like really hyperactive. Didn't really understand, you know, what was okay to say and what wasn't okay to say. He didn't even know what mold looked like on waffles.
He didn't what?
He didn't know what mold looked like on waffles because he ate moldy waffles.
He ate moldy waffles?
Yes.
It's embarrassing to say, but I didn't know a lot of very simple things, you know, like I didn't know why, for example, World War II happened straight up until I was like 19. I didn't really learn about it in school. I just know this guy with a mustache, really horrible human being, you know, that's kind of what I knew. But I didn't know any more than that, you know what I mean?
Of course, you know, there's the time that him and M2K were literally like in a Walmart hiding, you know, playing hide and seek.
Hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Hide from ZeRo.
Okay, do it.
Where is he? Put the camera away, man. We're in a store.
Come on, it's fun.
Nice to have it out in a store.
Okay.
ZeRo.
What?
Put the camera away.
Okay.
We're in a store in America.
It's fine.
It's not nice to do.
It's not nice?
No.
Why?
There's other people around. If they see them in your camera, they might get upset.
Really?
Yes.
No one got upset, so it's fine.
Not courteous.
Okay, just give me 1 minute. It's fine.
No.
Did he tell you anything about his past childhood or his family?
Well, his parents split up when he was very young, you know, between like 4 or 5 years old. And he had a lot of issues in school. Particularly, he was getting bullied a lot. So he didn't go to school because of that. And then afterwards, he decided to go back, and then he completed middle school and high school within like a 3-year period.
Just a lot of really bad things. Not only just the, you know, me, you know, getting molested, but also just the fact that I got into a lot of fights at school. A lot of, maybe like in 6 or 7 really bad fights. I actually got expelled for one of them. I remember my mom went to like 10 different schools. No one will take me. And for the next 2 or 3 years, I was homeschooled. And being homeschooled meant I did nothing. I just didn't go to school. Maybe 12 to 13 to like almost 16 here. I just kind of just sat home and played video games. I didn't do anything. I felt like I had no purpose in life. I took this test that kind of catches you up on a few grades. And I remember it was very embarrassing because when I took the test, the woman who was doing the test, it was this old lady, she felt bad for me. So she actually cheated on the test for me. Straight up just told me, you're the youngest person who's taken this test in a long time. I don't want to fail you. So she kind of just let me pass. And I'm pretty sure she inflated my grade too. So it's not like I did anything, And then my mom begged me to go to high school. So I went to this special high school. It was not a normal high school. It's a special high school where other kids that have issues go to that high school, and it's like easier. The kids are older. So some of the kids that I went to high school with were actually 20. Some people were like 25. It was not a normal high school with teenagers. I went with some adults. I don't think I would have passed a normal high school. I don't think so.
When you look at ZeRo's development over the years, even as recent as his marriage to Vanessa, you'd be hard-pressed to establish any kind of significant behavioral trend, considering how the single instance in 2014 is the only existing point of contention. Now, if that's enough for you to still be against ZeRo and think that he's an irredeemable person, I'd kind of understand where you're coming from. But if what Leffen and Jisoo said is true, you wouldn't need to lie this much to prove it. A pedophile will usually do that themselves. This may be a little personal, but I like ZeRo, and if he decides to continue making content, I can't think of a single reason not to. If you just thought to yourself, wow, that's a pretty risky and controversial opinion, Technicals, then I'd argue that this opinion is 1,000 times less controversial than what a majority of the Smash community already openly accepts. Remember when I said at the beginning, I'll show you how 2 of the biggest cases in Smash have never been solved? Well, the other one is Nairo. After I made the curious case of Captain Zack, I made a public apology and removed Nairo's mention from my ESAM video. Not because I thought he was innocent, but because I couldn't prove he was guilty. In hindsight, I missed a few glaring holes that I probably could have discussed in the video. What I didn't anticipate was the influx of canceled players DMing me, but after noticing how positively Nairo's return was received, I got an idea. I could use this newfound wave of acceptance and critical thought to get even the worst of my skeptics to believe that there were others like Nairo. If you can start a hashtag after fucking over Nairo and then give him thousands of dollars, the least you could do is write a tweet. Hashtag apologize to Scott. While I do see the disconnect logically to say that Anti being lied to, still a child predator, but Nairo being lied to, he's a hero.
It's also because Nairo's a love player, and I've always been a hated player for my whole career, so it's like, there's definitely a bias to it.
However, that card has far outplayed its use. So it's time I tell you what I really think. Nairo's case, in its current state, is objectively worse than anything that ZeRo has ever done. Yet he was officially unbanned from 2GG and Collision, removed from the global ban database, has a hashtag that trends every other month, and still has a significant audience over on YouTube. What do I mean by in its current state? Well, exactly what I've been saying. You can't exactly prove that Nairo is innocent or guilty of sexual misconduct with a 15-year-old in 2017. And while Zack might not have been entirely truthful, that doesn't mean Nairo is. I cannot offer any more details, but should Zack or any other party continue to escalate this, my attorney will be dealing with this legally while I continue therapy. What do you mean if Zack continues to escalate this? You said that you were planning to take legal action, and the reason you couldn't share your 30-page document was because of legalities and you were saving it for court. So why is this addressed as a cease and desist if you're taking action regardless? Correct me if I'm mistaken, but your attorney said that you've had no criminal charges filed against you. So wouldn't any legalities be a direct result of you and your attorney's decisions? There's a very, very, very slim chance that an 18-year-old like Captain Zack did anything beyond a consultation before essentially agreeing to the terms of your settlement. Even if it were the case that your settlement required you to not release the details of your innocence,
Why on God's green earth would you ever agree to that? Call it a detective's intuition, but something doesn't feel right here. On the same day that this was posted, 3 other tweets would come out within 22 minutes in support of Nairo. I'm gonna read all 3, and you tell me if you notice a pattern. I have seen the 30-page document and the evidence spoken of here. I won't be saying much else about the situation, as I legally can't. I'd appreciate it if you guys could at least give this a read. I believe Nairo and support his voice. I've read the 30-page document, seen the evidence, and can confirm that they exist. I am legally bound from saying anything more, but I believe Nairo. I believe Nairo and I support his voice. Please read it fully. I have read through the 30-page document and seen the evidence, so I can confirm that it does exist. I am legally bound from saying anything more, but I believe Nairo. I am here to support his voice, so if you will, please just read through it. These tweets all display 3 common traits. They've seen the documented evidence, thus confirming it exists. They're legally bound to avoid questioning, and they request others to read Nairo's statement while expressing their own support. If we put Cosmos and Paradin's tweets side by side, they almost look identical, don't they? Isn't it odd that 9 minutes after Paradin's tweet, almost the exact same message is posted by Cosmos? Huh. Unless Cosmos was just plagiarizing for the fun of it, I think it's very possible that there was a group chat where they were all sent a template, or it was sent individually by either Nairo or someone involved with the case. Now, why is this a bad thing? Ask yourself, why would Nairo only get his closest friends to review his evidence just to post later on social media that it exists? Why would his attorney suggest increasing the legal liability of his client by having his friends read his defense, only to then sign NDAs? Why did every organization that unbanned him refuse to elaborate and then state that their investigation was ongoing? Even Nairo's attorney stated that he was so confident in the defense that should this go to court, he would, quote, ultimately exonerate him in a court of law. If this defense that no one has seen is so strong, then why isn't it an open and shut case? So many questions, and yet no answers. Alfarad, along with the original 3 from October, would once again post to show their support for Nairo by fueling the unbanned Nairo trend, which hoped to get his Twitch account unbanned. What reason do I, your average Joe, have to believe any of you? Seeing is believing, and unless Nairo starts delivering annual presents through my fireplace, I'm gonna need to see that 30-page document. I'd be more inclined to believe that this was skewed in Nairo's favor had they not been flirting publicly 2 weeks before the incident took place. So, excuse me if I have my reservations. Like, what the fuck is this tweet alluding to? We all know that Captain Zack and Ally had a relationship, and with the context of fellatio a few weeks later, I can't help but get a bad taste in my mouth. No matter which way you slice it, Nairo had confirmed physical contact with a 15-year-old when he was 20. And in spite of that, and your average community member not knowing for sure if he's innocent, he's in the clear. At least I know for sure what ZeRo did and didn't do. Can't say the same for Nairo. Despite my position, I reached out to see if they fill me in on the case before making this video. The first person responded exactly how I expected, and Nairo's brother simply ignored me. So much for transparency, huh? Oh, this defense? This defense right here? I don't want to be that guy, but I can't even start to explain how effective this hypothetical defense would be. So I won't. Allegedly, some people think you fucked a kid. What other inspiration would you need to plaster this to every corner of the internet? I'm just saying, if I was a Smash figurehead, which I am, I would just keep someone banned if they don't want to publicly prove they're innocent. This is a gaming community. This is not a behind closed doors legal issue. This is a would parents look at this and approve issue. Fucking idiots, it's not complicated. However, this isn't the only place where the people in charge have made more than questionable decisions. As early as August 16th, the Code of Conduct was used to elaborate Hax's indefinite ban from the Melee community. The two infractions cited were the Level 2 offense of directed and malicious intimidation, harassment, or bullying of any participant, whether by language or conduct, and the Level 3 offense, most likely citing malicious gossip with the intent of manipulating the victim's social circle and defamation of character. Using this as their reasoning, a majority of prevalent TOs stood behind the decision by signing at the bottom. If that's the case, then it stands to reason that the same rules should apply to members of the same community, right? Well, that certainly would be the case if this weren't the kangaroo court we call Smash. According to the rules in this document, Jisoo has committed 2 Level 3 infractions. One for physical assault, witnessed by her own apology for said physical assault, and another one for defamation of character, where there's literally legal action being taken against her for the sheer volume of lies I've gone over in full detail over 2 videos. Add on a Level 2 offense for harassment if we're going by the precedent set in the Hax case, and also enabling underage drinking, cause fuck it, why not? Throw it in. Those are all infractions of rules set out in the Code of Conduct. And yet, after a trending hashtag and a video with over 300,000 views, absolutely nothing has been done. There's been no statement from the Melee community at all. If you want to know why, just ask your boy Slime.
Everyone knew that this was happening about this fucking technicals video. Everyone knew about it, and Jisoo asked people to, if, you know, to like not give it, because she was like, hey, this video's gonna come out and it's gonna fucking be really annoying and it sucks. And I'm like, damn, that fucking sucks. And she was like, can you like not engage with it because attention is like the engine that feeds people like this Keemstar fellow. And I was like, yeah, sure.
That's right. Jisoo just asked a bunch of high-ranking Melee figures to not view the evidence that would come out against her. And they just complied without question. Isn't that convenient?
Hey, there's gonna be this video coming out. It's gonna be like really fucking annoying, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. Can you guys just like fucking ignore it, please? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You want me to do what? Ignore it? Yes, ma'am.
I want you to go and jump off a bridge, please. Thank you. It's gonna be really annoying for me, but just like, can you go do that?
Yes, ma'am. Understood. These motherfuckers are like, what, like 30, 40? This is like some high school shit. They're sitting at the cool kids table. Where's my invite? Where's my extra pudding cup? What the fuck, man? Bearing in mind that Leffen is also guilty of defamation of character and harassment, by the rules that they laid out, he should also be banned. Actually, Technical, if you actually read the Code of Conduct, in Article 4, there's a statute of limitations for reporting, so... sorry, buddy. Let's just say I whip my dick out in front of a couple of children while playing friendlies. Now normally, I would be put on a registry for the rest of my life. But Smash is actually quite unique, because as long as I threaten those children to not report it long enough, I'm in the clear, baby. Thanks to whatever geniuses masterfully crafted this document, my actions are put on the same playing field as malicious gossip and physical assault. Stalking is in level 4, but doxing is in level 3. Who the fuck? What? What the fuck? Who proofread this? Salem? This standard of proof in all cases shall be determined on a sliding scale from, at a minimum, a mere balance of probability for the least serious punishments, up to close to, but not as high as, proof beyond a reasonable doubt for the most serious punishments. Not only do they not need to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt, but they can actually just ban you off a mere balance of probability. God bless America. Panelists may draw an inference adverse to the accused who is asserted to have committed an offense under the Code of Conduct based on their refusal, without compelling justification after a request made in a reasonable time in advance of the hearing, to appear at the hearing and/or to answer any relevant questions. Get this, if you refuse to go to a hearing, the panelists are allowed to think poorly of you. And considering that in some cases, all they'd need is a mere balance of probability, that's all they'd fucking need. Why do they need a compelling justification so you don't get interrogated, but they don't need a compelling justification to ban you? Do you see what I'm getting at here? Any new evidence which may bring to light the innocence of the accused has a statute of limitations of the duration of their initial suspension or ban? What does this even mean? If they find out you're innocent after your ban expires, they just won't fucking do anything? Sorry, time ran up. Can't do anything. Case closed.
Regardless of who you are, this arbitrary set of rules was designed to fuck you over. And even though we know that Jisoo and Leffen are objectively in the wrong, they're just gonna continue to get away with it as long as we're quiet about it. Because if there's one thing these people actually care about, it's pretending to be a better person than you. When I first took on this case, I'll be honest, I had quite the few reservations about ZeRo. Some of you might even remember me saying things like, I can't do anything, I'm not a fucking miracle worker. But after thoroughly reviewing the case files, the motivations, the state bylaws, the contradictions, and the traffic violations, I came to where I am now. ZeRo's conversations with Katie were 100% irresponsible and wrong in my opinion. The issue for me is that this isn't something that was caught in the moment. This happened once 7 years ago when he was 19 and then never happened again. The only inference I can reasonably pull from that is that he either realized it was wrong and stopped it himself, or his mental maturity finally caught up with him after years of trauma and a lack of proper education. He's been with Vanessa for 5 years now, and they're happily married. I can't for the life of me point to anything that would correlate him being a current danger to children, like Leffen would suggest. ZeRo never exchanged images with Katie, which is his worst perceived crime to this day. Yet Nairo had undeniable sexual activity with a 15-year-old and has still not provided his full defense for his innocence. His attorney says that he could ultimately exonerate him, so why hasn't he? He made it sound really easy. If Nairo feels like his audience isn't owed a detailed explanation, then according to the severity of the allegations, he isn't owed a platform either. And you can tell your attorney I said that, because I'm not an 18-year-old, and I can promise you it's gonna take a lot more than some half-assed legal jargon to make me fold. Given the lack of competence from those in charge, it's not surprising that Jisoo and Leffen have also avoided accountability for this long. That doesn't really matter though, because a Sigma waits for no one, and as I've stated before, legal action is being taken. Whether you decide to support ZeRo in the future is entirely up to you. But let's stop this arbitrary game of deciding who is and isn't a redeemable person based off who we want to believe more. I'm not asking for justice. I'm not even gonna ask you for an apology. You don't have to say anything. So I'll just say the only thing that's left to say. Welcome back, ZeRo. Read for yourself, ask the right questions, and who knows? Maybe you too can be a detective. But for now, this case is officially closed. Until next time.
If you're listening, obviously you will listen to this, but I'm so proud of you, Gonzalo, and I love you. And you have friends and fans and family that really care about you and want to welcome you back again. And I love you, and I'm so happy to call you my husband.
Hey guys, ZeRo here. I'm currently streaming right now in twitch.tv/Clash Tournaments. I'm playing with viewers right now. Make sure to follow my personal channel, twitch.tv/Gonzalo_ZeRo.